morning, Acadiana. It's Wednesday, February 10th, 2021, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/csradio. You can find the print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer news readers. Today, we're joined by Daniel Rayburn. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being here to read the news. I'm going to let you take it away and listen on Cypress Street.
Good morning, Acadiana. It is my pleasure to be here with you again, bringing you the news of today. As usual, we have quite a few headlines to look at, so we're just going to dive right into those. We start, as we typically do, with headlines from across the Acadiana area. And our first reads, Woman arrested in teen's death. Suspect booked on failure to report missing child. And this is written by Katie Gagliano. A suspect has been arrested in the disappearance and death of Quan Bobby Charles, the 15-year-old whose body was found near Lauraville in November, days after his family reported him missing. Janet Irvin, 37, was arrested in the case, according to an announcement Tuesday from the social justice organization Stand Black. Irvin was booked on counts of contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile and failure to report a missing child, a Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office spokesperson confirmed. The Sheriff's Office online booking website showed Irvin was booked on a hold for the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office around 11 a.m. A booking agent confirmed she is no longer in the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's custody and was being transferred to Iberia Parish. Quote, I am confident that my office has put together an extremely strong case against Miss Irvin, Iberia Parish Sheriff Tommy Romero said in a video statement Tuesday afternoon. Immediately upon the arrest, I personally spoke with the parents of Quan Charles. I hope this arrest begins to help their family heal, and by no means is this case closed. Charles was found dead in a rural area of Iberia Parish near the village of Lauraville after his family reported him missing to the Baldwin Police Department on October 30th. According to the official autopsy report, Charles' body was naked and partially submerged in water. Attorneys for Charles' family have pushed for Irvin's arrest since the early days of the investigation into the teen's death. The attorneys have repeatedly stated they believe Irvin and her son were the last people to see Charles alive, and said Irvin picked Charles up from a family residence without parental permission. After Charles was reported missing, Irvin did not immediately alert authorities he had been with her family, attorneys said. Charles' family attorney Ron Haley said in a Tuesday phone call he hopes Irvin's arrest will lead to new breaks in the case, which his legal team and the Charles family believe was a homicide. Quote, Justice can never be late. Although we believe wholeheartedly this arrest could have been made months ago, we're still pleased with the fact that she's arrested. We've said all along that we thought the linchpin in all this was Janet Irvin, and once an arrest was made for Janet Irvin, that will be the first domino to drop, and folks will hopefully shed more light on what has happened to Quan. Haley said the Charles family and their legal team are hopeful the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office will continue to be transparent throughout the investigation. The lawyer said the team is still waiting on the specifics behind Irvin's arrest. The legal team has retained private investigators, and Haley said he's hopeful the investigator and local law enforcement can continue to collaborate and share information when possible to support a full investigation. The official report, completed by the Louisiana Forensic Center, as well as preliminary findings and an independent autopsy commissioned by the family, lists drowning as the cause of death, though the manner of death, whether accidental, suicide, or homicide, remains undetermined. The report provided some new insights into the investigation, including notes about witness reports that Charles was combative after consuming drugs, was acting erratically, and was making statements about the intention to kill himself before his death. He was later seen alone on surveillance video in the area where his body was found. There were no signs of struggle before Charles' death, but homicide cannot be entirely ruled out, the report says. Wounds to his face are believed to be from insects or animals after his death, the February 5th report stated. Autopsy reports found traces of THC, the psychoactive chemical in marijuana, and alcohol in his system. A witness told police Charles may have also consumed hallucinogenic mushrooms, but the official autopsy report found no trace of hallucinogenic mushrooms or synthetic cannabinoids in his system. The forensic pathologist who completed the autopsy report noted the circumstances suggest Charles may have suffered a psychotic episode, which could have led to either an accidental drowning or suicide. Suicide by drowning is rare, but can occur. Attorneys for the Charles family pushed back against the idea of an accidental death or drowning by suicide in a Monday statement, noting that accidental drowning in shallow water are rare, as is suicide by drowning. Quote, "The only rational, glaringly obvious conclusion is that there was foul play at work here," the attorney said. Haley said that the ambiguities in the autopsy reports are just as important as the definitive findings. And although suicide or an accident are possible, the strange circumstances surrounding Charles' death led his family and their legal team to believe foul play was involved. More information is needed from Irvin and other witnesses around the case to determine the truth, he said. Quote, "If anyone's son or daughter was at my residence and ran away saying they're going to kill themselves, and I don't pick up the phone and call their parents or the police, what does that say?" Haley said. The legal team also suggested that the witnesses, whom they believed to be Irvin and her family, who claimed Charles was aggressive and erratic before his death, may be protecting themselves in the case. Charles' family and legal team have raised questions about law enforcement's handling of the case since the beginning, with scrutiny focused on the overall rigor of the investigation and the lack of an arrest. And now, we move to our next headline, which reads, "Schools to return to in-person learning. Lafayette Parish students on campuses daily by March 1st. And this is written by Kristen Ackelson and Katie Gagliano. The Lafayette Parish school system is returning hybrid students to campuses for daily in-person learning shortly after the Mardi Gras break, according to a statement released Tuesday. On February 22nd, 6th grade and 9th grade students will return to school daily, followed by 10th grade students on February 25th. On March 1st, 7th grade and 11th grade students will return to school daily. This staggered approach will allow the transportation department to assess and make any necessary changes to bus routes, school authorities said in the statement. Lafayette Parish school buses remain limited to a 75% capacity. With all students returning to full-time in-person classes, parents are encouraged to use personal transportation whenever possible. Quote, "Keeping health and safety a priority, we must also be mindful of the academic, social, and emotional impact of school closures on our students," Superintendent Irma Trosclair said in the statement. "While I respect the views of all stakeholders, the implementation of safety protocols has been effective, and a return to daily instruction is the right decision at this time." Julia Reed, president of the Lafayette Parish Association of Educators, said her phone was immediately flooded with messages from other teachers once the district announced the return. She said teachers are concerned about the logistics. "How can I practice social distancing with a full-size class? How will I have enough time to clean desks between student groups? How do I give my students the attention they need while maintaining COVID-19 protocols?" Teachers are concerned about how they'll continue to meet COVID-19 protocol and protect their students and themselves while meeting all students' social, emotional, and educational needs, she said. Quote, "One teacher expressed it to me before. She said she feels like there is no way to be successful with all the kids back. She said she felt like there is no way for me to balance everything," Reed said. It is important that the kids are with a classroom teacher as much as possible. But at a certain point, when the job becomes untenable, then you don't have a classroom teacher, she said. While standardized testing may not be at the heart of the decision to return, Reed said she believes it's placing undue pressure on school districts to return to the classroom. The Louisiana Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Education have not issued waivers for standardized testing, and schools are expected to receive evaluations based on student test scores. Reed said LPAE's national parent organization, the National Education Association, is appealing to federal education leaders to offer waivers or lower the stakes of tests to relieve burdens on teachers and school systems. Lafayette Parish began the school year with all students on a hybrid schedule to allow space for social distancing in classrooms. Almost immediately, it reversed course and decided all elementary students should receive daily face-to-face instruction in the classroom. The change was made possible because of increased enrollment in Lafayette Online Academy, which reduced class sizes, officials said. More than 8,000 students were enrolled in the online academy at the beginning of the school year, including roughly 30% of the district's elementary students. There are currently about 3,900 students enrolled in the online academy, according to school system spokesperson Allison Dickerson. Reed said while social distancing will be maintained to, quote, the greatest extent possible, with all students back in class, given the limitations of classroom sizes, desk sizes, and the size of children, it's unlikely social distancing will be able to be meaningfully enforced. The Lafayette Parish Association of Educators pushed for a fully virtual start to the school year and has voiced its members' opposition to the return to in-person classes. As of February 3rd, there have been 928 cases of COVID-19 reported among Lafayette Parish school students, and 401 cases among teachers and staff. And with that, we will now take a short break from the headlines to bring you this PSA. United Way of Acadiana announces its 2021 Pact United grant applications are now open. Organizations are encouraged to apply on their website before February 23rd at midnight. Pact United is a competitive, community-wide initiative focused on United Way of Acadiana's 3 focus areas of education, earnings, and essentials. Last year, $440,000 were distributed among 28 community programs created and administered by regional nonprofits and educational institutions. Through the program, United Way of Acadiana lifts up local area nonprofits by giving them additional resources for support, growth, and sustainability. United Way of Acadiana's Pack United model provides grants to organizations focused on helping more children graduate from high school, building financial stability in hardworking families, and ensuring that neighborhoods meet their basic needs. United Way of Acadiana expects this year's needs to be great in the wake of COVID-19 and encourages organizations who are stepping up during this time to apply. To apply for a Pack United grant or for more information on United Way of Acadiana's work, please visit unitedwayofacadiana.org. And with that, we will now return to headlines across the Acadiana area. Our next headline reads, New ad takes aim at Higgins. Calls for him to resign seat. Congressman accused of using seditious rhetoric. And this is written by Claire Taylor. A Lafayette man is behind an ad that hit YouTube and cable TV this week, painting Congressman Clay Higgins as an Oath Keepers supporter whose rhetoric helped to incite the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Kenneth Miller recently formed the Political Action Committee, Blackthorn PAC, that paid for the ad, he said Tuesday. A resident of Lafayette, Miller is a founding partner in Black Rose Advisors and vice president of mergers and acquisitions with Colliers International, according to his LinkedIn profile. He is the sole officer of Blackthorn LLC, according to the Louisiana Secretary of State's online database. A Republican from Lafayette, Higgins replied through a spokesman, quote, I'm not concerned with targeted lies, false attacks coming from left-wing organizations. I am a constitutionalist. I work for we the people. I'll continue to do so. Socialist lies mean zero to me. Higgins was dubbed the, quote, Cajun John Wayne for his tough guy image and anti-crime videos while working in law enforcement. As a congressman, he has posted several controversial videos online, including one shot at a former Nazi death camp gas chamber. In a news release Tuesday, Miller said while watching the January 6th attack on the Capitol, he decided to make sure what happened is not forgotten and to hold accountable those whose rhetoric incited the attack, including congressmen. Higgins, he said, is an obvious choice for Blackthorn's first ad, which aims to force the congressman to, quote, answer for his words and actions. Miller said he wants the ad to spark a conversation about the Republican Party and Higgins. Quote, can someone who is so far out there actually do anything for constituents, like create jobs and fix our roads, he said. I don't see how that's possible. Higgins threatened Governor John Bel Edwards over COVID-19 restrictions, saying if Edwards didn't open up businesses in Louisiana, people would do so by force, Miller said. Higgins also threatened to kill protesters in a Facebook post that led to a large armed demonstration in Lafayette. The Blackthorn PAC ad shows Higgins saying if Republicans were to lose the House, Senate, and White House in 2020, quote, patriots are going to have some hard decisions to make. He is shown speaking at what Blackthorn PAC says is an Oath Keepers rally. Oath Keepers is a far-right anti-government militia organization composed of current and former military, police, and first responders, and were among those who stormed the Capitol on January 6. Quote, I want to hear Clay Higgins explain what he meant by these, quote, hard decisions, Miller said. I want him to explain why he is a member of both the Oath Keepers and 3%ers, and, in fact, has the 3%er logo on his pistol grip and campaign t-shirts. Clay Higgins needs to tell us all that he is really up to and what he really wants to see happen to this country. The ad closes by urging viewers to call Higgins' office and asking him to resign. And now, we will take a look at several crime headlines from the Advocate Crime Blotter. We'll begin with Lafayette man arrested in College Road killing. A Lafayette man has been arrested in the death of 32-year-old Leo Jack, whose body was found Thursday inside of an apartment in the 700 block of South College Road. Officers from the U.S. Marshals Service Violent Offender Task Force and the Lafayette Police Department took 29-year-old Cody Gusciano into custody after 9:40 a.m. Tuesday at a local motel. He was booked into the Lafayette Parish Correctional Center on account of second-degree murder. Officers responded to the apartment complex about noon Thursday after a request for a welfare check at the complex. A sheriff's office spokesperson said family members had been unable to reach Jack. Family members entered the apartment and found the man's body. The sheriff's office said their evidence suggests the death was a homicide, pending further review by the Lafayette Parish Coroner's Office. The spokesperson did not specify what evidence pointed towards the death as a homicide. Our next crime headline reads, Man accused in theft of $100,000 in jewelry and guns. A man who was arrested in Katy, Texas on Friday is accused of stealing more than $100,000 worth of jewelry, guns, and safes from homes in the La Triomphe neighborhood, the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office said Tuesday. Justin Joseph Andrews, 42, is accused of breaking into at least 6 homes in the neighborhood between December 30th and January 15th. Andrews is also suspected of committing more than a dozen burglaries in East Baton Rouge Parish and has additional pending counts in St. Martin and Calcasieu parishes, according to the statement. Multiple local, state, and federal agencies participated in the investigation, according to the statement. After the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office identified Andrews as a suspect, East Baton Rouge Parish detectives and several Texas law enforcement agencies apprehended him. He will be extradited back to Lafayette to face burglary charges. Quote, I'm proud of the work by our detectives and their ability to work with law enforcement agencies from Texas to Baton Rouge to see that this criminal is brought to justice, Sheriff Mark Garber said. This investigation remains ongoing. Lafayette Parish Sheriff's detectives say extradition to Louisiana is being sought and additional charges are expected. And our next crime headline. Man killed in Lafayette apartment fire. One man is dead after a fire broke out in a Lafayette apartment unit Monday. Lafayette firefighters responded to the Mimosa Place apartments at 155 Mimosa Place about 11:27 p.m. after neighbors reported heavy smoke pouring from a downstairs apartment. Neighbors told first responders an elderly man lived in the unit, which had flames coming from a bedroom window. Emergency crews found the man dead inside the burning room, Lafayette Fire Department spokesperson Alton Traha said in a statement. The fire was extinguished within 10 minutes. Investigators determined the bedroom mattress was the source of the fire, but the exact cause is under investigation. The Lafayette Parish Coroner's Office is helping determine cause of death, Traha said. The deceased man's name is being withheld until his next of kin is notified. And now, we will take another step away from the headlines to look at our Today in History, famous birthdays, and the daily horoscope. We begin with our Today in History, which is brought to us by the Associated Press. Today is Wednesday, February 10th, the 41st day of 2021. There are 324 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history. On February 10th, 1967, the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, dealing with presidential disability and secession, was ratified as Minnesota and Nevada adopted it. On this date, in 1763, Britain, Spain, and France signed the Treaty of Paris, ending the 7 Years' War, also known as the French and Indian War in North America. In 1933, the first singing telegram was introduced by the Postal Telegram Company in New York. In 1936, Nazi Germany's Reichstag passed a law investing the Gestapo police with absolute authority, exempt from any legal review. In 1959, a major tornado tore through the St. Louis area, killing 21 people and causing heavy damage. In 1962, the Soviet Union exchanged captured American U-2 pilot Francis Gary Powell for Rudolph Abel, a Soviet spy held by the United States. In 1992, boxer Mike Tyson was convicted in Indianapolis of raping Desiree Washington, a Miss Black America contestant. Tyson served 3 years in prison. In that same year, Roots author Alex Haley died in Seattle at age 70. In 1997, a civil jury heaped $25 million in punitive damages on O.J. Simpson for the slaying of his ex-wife and her friend, on top of $8.5 million in compensatory damages awarded earlier. In 2005, Britain's Prince Charles announced he would marry his divorced lover, Camilla Parker Bowles, in April. In that same year, North Korea boasted publicly for the first time that it possessed nuclear weapons. In 2015, NBC announced it was suspending Brian Williams as nightly news anchor and managing editor for 6 months without pay for misleading the public about his experiences covering the Iraq War. 10 years ago today, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak refused to step down or leave the country and instead handed his powers to his vice president, stunning protesters in central Cairo who waved their shoes in contempt and shouted, "Leave, leave, leave." Mubarak resigned the next day. 5 years ago today, Senate Democrats and Republicans united behind tougher sanctions on North Korea for violating international law by pursuing nuclear weapons. And 1 year ago today, U.S. health officials confirmed the first case of the novel coronavirus among the hundreds of people who had been evacuated from China to military bases in the United States. It was among the 13 confirmed cases in the U.S. We'll now shift to our famous birthdays. Today's birthdays include actor Robert Wagner, who's 91 today. Rock musician Don Wilson of The Ventures has turned 88. Singer Roberta Flack is 84. Singer Jimmy Merchant is 81 today. Rock musician Bob Spalding, also of The Ventures, is 74. Olympic gold medal swimmer Mark Spitz is 71 today. Walt Disney executive Robert Iger has turned 70 as well. Rock musician and composer Corey Larius of Pablo Cruz is also 70 today. World Golf Hall of Famer Greg Norman has turned 66. Actor Kathleen Beller is 65. Country singer Lionel Cartwright has turned 61 today. Movie director Alexander Payne is 60. ABC News correspondent George Stephanopoulos is also 60 today. Political commentator Glenn Beck has turned 57. Actor Laura Dern is 54 today. Writer, producer, and director Vince Gilligan most famously known for Breaking Bad, is 54 today. Country singer Dude Maury is 49. Actor Jason Olive is 49. Actor Elizabeth Banks has turned 47. Reggaeton singer Don Omar is 43 today. Actor Stephanie Beatrice is 40. Actor Max Brown has also turned 40 today. Rock singer Eric Dill has turned 39. Actor Trevante Rhodes is 31. Actor Emma Roberts is 30 today. Actor Chloe Grace Mordance is 24. And finally, actor Yara Shadidi is 21 today. And from there, we shift to our daily horoscope. We begin with Aquarius, which is birth dates of January 20th to February 19th. You can't please everyone, but you can make a difference. Follow your instincts, make decisions based on facts, and pursue your goals with gusto. For Pisces, which is birth dates of February 20th to March 20th. Be careful what you share and who you trust. Focus on getting things done instead of trying to convince others to help you. What you accomplish on your own will inspire you. For Aries, which is March 21st to April 19th birth dates. Express your ideas, accept criticism, and make adjustments. Strive for perfection and don't look back. Romance is favored. Now is the time to give it your all and to make progress. For Taurus, which is April 20th to May 20th birth dates. Think twice before you upset a loved one. Choose your words carefully, and you'll avoid ending up in a precarious position. Take care of your responsibilities. Say less and do more. For Gemini, which is birth dates of May 21st to June 20th. You can get ahead if you take the right measures. Check online job postings, set up an interview, or discuss your ideas and plans with someone who can help you make your dreams come true. For Cancer, which is June 21st to July 22nd birth dates. Try something new and exciting, or revisit a hobby or pastime you used to enjoy. Taking a unique approach to how you interact with others will encourage better relationships. For Leo, which is July 23rd to August 22nd birth dates. You'll feel ill at ease around a partner, colleague, or peer. Be prepared to counter anyone who tries to make you look bad. Take care of your responsibilities. For Virgo, which is birth dates of August 23rd to September 22nd, ask questions, verify information, and consider how to best turn something you love to do into a profitable pastime. Refuse to let a peer, friend, or relative goad you into a debate. For Libra, which is birth dates of September 23rd to October 23rd, put your plan in motion. You've got what it takes to push your way to the top if you are mindful of others, optimistic in your pursuits, and fastidious in how you present your objective. For Scorpio, which is October 24th to November 22nd birthdays, hold off on making a change that you aren't fully prepared to put in play. Rethink your strategy, and you'll come up with a unique idea that will help prevent a dispute. For Sagittarius, which is November 23rd to December 21st birthdates, you will reach your objective if you don't let anyone interfere with your plans. A change to how you handle money, approach work, or take care of yourself will pay off. And finally, for the Capricorns, which is December 22nd to January 19th birthdates, a unique twist to how you do things will give you a new lease on life. Move items around at home to free up space for a project you want to pursue. Don't argue with someone who never agrees with you. And now, we will return to our headlines, expanding our scope here from the Acadiana area to headlines around the state of Louisiana. Our first state headline reads, Louisiana extends Phase 2 restrictions. Governor and other officials receive vaccine. This was written by M. Carlin. Several top state officials, including Governor John Bel Edwards, received a shot of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine Tuesday at a new community vaccine clinic in Baton Rouge that officials hope can eventually inoculate thousands per week as the state races to immunize the bulk of its residents. And although COVID-19 numbers are improving in Louisiana, Edwards extended the state's current restrictions, keeping many bars closed to indoor service and capping occupancy at most businesses at 50% for another 3 weeks. The new UK variant of the virus, which is more transmissible, is circulating in the state, worrying top health officials who predict another surge in cases is in store before the state can reach herd immunity through vaccinations. The governor also noted that although the virus has waned in recent weeks, cases and hospitalizations have plateaued at a high level. He pointed out that Fat Tuesday, which helped seed the virus's grip on Louisiana last year, is quickly approaching. Quote, "There's still a lot to be concerned about," Governor Edwards said. "I'm very hopeful that when we next announce a new proclamation, we will be able to ease some restrictions if we continue on the path we're currently on." The governor on Monday expanded the pool of people eligible to get the vaccine to include people who are 65 and older, some election workers and first responders. He made his Unified Command Group, an emergency response cabinet that he leads, eligible, along with some other government COVID-19 response officials. As part of that expansion, Edwards sat down shortly after his news conference and rolled up his sleeve to receive the first of 2 injections of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. He got the shot at Pennington Biomedical Research Center in Baton Rouge, a site that opened up to eligible residents Tuesday. Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center in Baton Rouge, the state's largest hospital, moved the vaccinations being done at its main hospital on Essen Lane to the new site about a mile away, with plans to inject about 1,500 people per week, spokesperson Ryan Cross said. Eventually, the hospital hopes to administer upwards of 7,000 doses per week. But that relies on a supply of doses that has proved erratic in Louisiana and across the country. Edwards said he has not committed a certain number of doses to the Pennington facility because the state supply from the federal government is still uncertain. He did say the Biden administration told him to expect over the next 3 weeks at least the same number of doses as the state received this week. The federal government is also planning to send more doses straight to federally qualified health centers across the United States, including at least 1 in each state, though the number of doses was not clear, Governor Edwards added. Louisiana, as of Tuesday, had injected more people with at least 1 shot of the COVID-19 vaccine than the number of positive COVID-19 tests since the pandemic began, a milestone Edwards highlighted. Still, Dr. Joe Cantor, the state health officer, said he doesn't think Louisiana is seeing the number of people who have contracted COVID-19 and those who have been vaccinated make a dent in the transmission of the virus yet. It's still somewhat unclear how long immunity from contracting the disease lasts, and he's seen patients in Louisiana test positive 3 times over the course of the pandemic. About 414,000 people have tested positive for COVID-19 in Louisiana, including 55,492 probable cases identified through rapid test. Providers in the state have given 448,122 people at least one shot of the vaccine. Cantor urged people to get vaccinated when it's their turn, even if they have tested positive for COVID-19 in the past. The UK variant is present in Louisiana in, quote, much greater numbers than the state can confirm, he added. We likely have more cases ahead, he said. The governor put Louisiana back in a modified version of Phase 2 of restrictions in November, effectively closing bars to indoor service and putting more businesses at 50% occupancy. Parishes that have percent positivity, the share of tests coming back positive of under 5% for 2 weeks, can reopen bars to 25% indoor service, while all bars are allowed to offer outdoor service. Louisiana experienced a surge of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations starting in November, a wave that was exacerbated by the Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's holidays. Hospitalizations reached 2,069 on January 7th, the peak of the latest wave. In recent weeks, numbers have improved. Hospitalizations have dropped to 1,122 according to the latest data. Still, that's higher than the number of hospitalizations when Edwards announced the increased restrictions in late November. Louisiana posted an average of 941 cases each of the past 7 days, down from almost 3,000 a day a month ago. Meanwhile, the state secured more vaccine doses this week after about a month of static shipments. The Biden administration sent more doses, plus the state clawed some back from a federal partnership aimed at inoculating nursing home residents and staff because many of the doses weren't being used. When Edwards first announced older adults would have access to the vaccine on New Year's Eve, Walda Gibbs was left disappointed. At 68, she was barely under the 70-year-old threshold. She was battling a lung condition and completed treatment last summer, but her doctor, Catherine O'Neill, the high-profile infectious disease expert at Our Lady of the Lake, cautioned her to remain careful until she could get vaccinated. She had tried to secure a dose from a pharmacy after hearing such facilities might have extra doses available to the general public at the end of the day, but to no avail. On Tuesday, Gibbs got her first shot at Pennington. She teared up as she reflected on the long wait for the vaccine. She had hoped to visit her sister, who lived in a nursing home, after completing the treatment for her lung condition. But her sister died. Quote, "I've been waiting because I haven't been able to go to church," Gibbs said. "People keep asking me, can you come play violin? Could you come play at church? I said, sorry, I can't do it until I get the vaccine." And now, we move to our next state headline, which reads, Study. Mardi Gras 2020 in New Orleans spawned up to 50,000 cases. And this is written by Emily Woodruff. Public health officials have largely accepted that last year's Mardi Gras helped make New Orleans an early coronavirus hotspot in the United States, even if a lack of testing made it hard to be sure. But a new study that sought to pinpoint how the virus spread through the city has found that 2020 Carnival revelers were responsible for tens of thousands of coronavirus cases, after a single person likely brought it to New Orleans in the weeks before Mardi Gras. Researchers at the Scripps Research Institute, Tulane University, LSU Health, and several other institutions said in a pre-publication report released Monday that the coronavirus probably arrived in New Orleans about 2 weeks before Mardi Gras, likely from a person traveling from Texas. They found that almost 800 people were likely infected by the time crowds died down on Ash Wednesday, and those new infections went on to seed most of the 50,000 confirmed cases in Louisiana's first wave over the next few months. Quote, "The entire outbreak in Louisiana is almost certainly fueled by what happened on Mardi Gras," said Mark Zeller, study author and a researcher at Scripps. "It's basically the snowball. Once it's going, it's just going. It's really hard to stop." The paper, which hasn't yet gone through peer review, used death data to retroactively model how many cases the city would have had. It employed genome sequencing to trace the cases to a single source and cell phone tracking data to help simulate the spread. The findings, taken with earlier studies and reports focused on spread in New Orleans, added further evidence that Mardi Gras was a super spreader event that changed the shape of the pandemic, both in Louisiana and across the southern U.S. And it suggests that the timing of Carnival could hardly have been worse, with the festivities picking up steam just before shutdowns were recommended by federal officials. It was also a period when providers had little experience treating coronavirus patients and a limited ability to test and track exposure. Quote, "In March, I think New Orleans had the sharpest increase of patients anywhere in the world," said Zeller. "It's just very unfortunate timing. If Mardi Gras would have been 2 or 3 weeks earlier, maybe it wouldn't have resulted in this many cases." The virus spread through New Orleans differently from other cities with early spikes, such as Seattle and New York City. In those places, multiple people likely brought in slightly different strains over a short period of time, seeding many outbreaks that quickly exploded. But based on the study's examination of the genetic variety of the virus presented in New Orleans, Mardi Gras essentially created conditions similar to a cruise ship, where a single variety of the virus quickly spread wildly from a single source. Quote, "It's the same kind of situation," said Robert Gary, a Tulane University virologist and one of the paper's lead authors. "A cruise ship, people are crammed into smaller spaces. People are in these confined areas," said Gary. "Almost like with a Mardi Gras crew, right? People spend a lot of time together, in balls, and in those closed spaces." Gary said in other cities, international travelers brought strains in from different places. But as scientists mapped the spread of the virus based on genetic similarities between cases, they found that the same was not true in Louisiana. Quote, "People worried a lot of travelers were coming in from Asia and Europe introducing different strains. That didn't happen," said Gary. "It tells us about the way this virus spreads. When people get into close spaces, talking and shouting and having a good time, drinking, that's where it spreads." That only one main strain was passed around was part luck and part timing, according to Jeremy Kimmel, a professor of microbiology and immunology at LSU Health Shreveport, who helped coordinate sequencing of coronavirus test samples. Louisiana's unique pattern of a single strain helped illuminate the reach of Mardi Gras as a super spreader. Quote, "It's like a spark," said Kamal. "In Louisiana, by chance, there was more than one introduction, but only one caught fire." Although larger areas, such as Houston, had more strains of the virus, Mardi Gras seemed to set off a train of transmission that shaped the path of the pandemic as it ripped through New Orleans, making it a city with the highest death per capita at times. In some ways, it was lucky that only one strain took hold. But it took hold at the most opportune time for a virus, when people were jammed together in crowds, sharing drinks and food, yelling and singing with little thought of a respiratory virus. Quote, "It was a sweet spot in the pandemic, and that it was a very early phase," said Kamau. Like humans, viruses pass down certain characteristics to each other. When scientists analyze all those differences, a picture starts to emerge, just like ancestors on a family tree. Quote, "When we do that with the New Orleans strains, they show up on one branch of the tree," said Gary, which means they were related. The paper compared 235 Louisiana genome sequences with sequences from other parts of the country and the world. Over 30,000 pieces of each virus were analyzed and compared so scientists could connect the dots between transmission. The paper also puts to rest the idea that Mardi Gras seeded infections across the United States. The virus strain in New Orleans did seed infections throughout the South, to other parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, and Alabama, but stay-at-home restrictions and limited air travel appear to have kept it from spreading to other regions. As the city looks ahead to Mardi Gras that will be very different this year, with bars closed, pedestrian traffic limited, and Go Cups banned, the study authors hope their findings will serve as a warning about the downstream effects of gathering while the virus circulates. With new, more transmissible variants in circulation, the chain of transmission is even harder to break. Quote, "If college students are crowding on Bourbon Street, a lot of people won't get seriously ill," said Kamal. "But if they go home and visit grandma, or if they spread it to someone else who spreads it to someone else who works in a nursing home or is a prison employee, then all of a sudden, you've indirectly involved in a chain of events where people, now you, in some way, have participated in the death of 90 people." And with that, we move to our final headline of the day, which comes to us from the world of sports. And it reads, "Course correction. UL Hoops coaches hoping to get star guards Williams and Wilson hot again for stretch drives." And this is written by Kevin Foote. Even good players aren't above rough patches on occasion. For a coaching staff, the search for solutions can be tricky. Take UL women's junior guard Brandy Williams and men's sophomore guard Malik Wilson. Both entered their respective seasons as two of the bright spots on their squad. Both are still huge parts of their team's success so far this season. Both are hoping the next 2 to 3 weeks are far more productive than the past few have been. In her past 6 games, Williams has only made 10 of 42 shots from the field and missed 7 free throws. The Lake Charles native entered that stretch averaging 14.2 points per game, and she averaged 6.1 in those 6 games. After hitting multiple three-pointers in 6 of her first 9 games, that hasn't happened over the past 6 tries. Quote, "I noticed early in the season," said UL coach Gary Broadhead, whose Cajuns, who currently have a 10-5 overall record and are 9-1 in Sun Belt Conference, are going for a school record 10-game winning streak against ULM at 3 p.m. Thursday in the Cajun Dome. Quote, "She just wasn't putting enough arc on her shot." Coaching Williams' shot has always been complicated for Broadhead. From the beginning, he always thought her shot was unique, but he vowed not to mess with it. After averaging 12.8 points a game as a true freshman and making 87.9% of her free throws, there was no reason to change anything. Recent film study, though, showed Williams is dropping her shoulders and lunging towards the goal while shooting more than usual. Quote, "She didn't feel it," Broadhead said. "I showed her on film and we're working on it. I can see the difference in her already. We're still not messing with the mechanics of her shot. We're just working on her posture. We just want her to shoot it with a little more arc." Broadhead said he doesn't want to harp on it too much with his star guard, so a mental obstacle isn't created like in Monday's win over UTA when he noticed Williams was passing up open shot opportunities. Quote, "The results may not come immediately, but she's going to fix it," Broadhead said. "It's going to come. She's just too good of a shooter." we will look at the funerals today in the Acadiana area, before calling it a morning. Our funerals today include Marguerite Fontenot, with services at St. Alphonse Catholic Church at 11 a.m. Virgie Fau, with services at Martin and Castile Funeral Home in Lafayette at 2 p.m. James Kramer Sr., with services at Holy Cross Catholic Church in Lafayette at 1 p.m. And finally, Mary Lemons, with services at the Delome Chapel of the Flowers at 11 a.m. With that, this has been Local News Live for February 10th, 2021, and I've been your reader, Daniel Rayburn. Please join us at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on AOC 1, Cypress Street Radio, or the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube. You can read these stories and more at theadvocate.com and find out how to volunteer and more at aocinc.org. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I hope you'll join us again tomorrow. And have a great day, Acadiana.